Hi everybody, Colin here. Today's GUIZERO project is called Spy Name Chooser. Can you remember what GUI stands for? It stands for Graphical User Interface. It just means a Windows or a Windows type interaction with the screen. Let's get going. So in the book that we downloaded a couple of weeks ago now, we're going to go to chapter 3, which is called Spy Name Chooser. I'm just going to make that go to my left hand side of my screen and then open up Mu. And set my screen up. That should do nicely. And go for a new piece of code. I'll do my save now. And Spy Name Chooser. Give my project a name in here, so when I'm looking at this later on, I can remember what I was doing. And we're going to so this project starts off by encouraging us to have a template for our code. So start off with having an area for imports, then functions, and we'll talk about functions later on, and then the app itself, and then any widgets that we draw, and then finally the most important part is that dreaded display thing. Okay, so I'm going to go back, and I know that I need to, in my import part, GUI 0, whoops, Z0 import app, which is the main application, and we're going to start by also importing a text field. Our app starts with lowercase a-p-p. That could of course be called anything. So I think today I'm just going to call this my app, just to show you that that doesn't matter. It's got to be consistent through. My app is going to be an object from the app class. And if you remember rightly, this is the big container that my program sits in. Secret. And put some text on the screen. And that's an object from the text class that sits within inside my app. And it's going to say push the red button to find your spy name. And then at the very bottom here, my app dot display, open close brackets. Okay, let's test that. So there we go. So although I've named mine my app because I've been consistent with that, my app is the big box. My text sits inside my app. I've got top secret as the header of my in the title bar for my screen, and then my app.display publishes the box. Good. Now we're going to add a button. So buttons are also widgets, and let's call our button button equals push button button, open and close bracket. Again, that needs to sit within my app, and a comma, And then one of the nice things in Mu is it gives you a list of the expected or the options that you can have as part of the default settings. Having added push button here, that reminds me I need to add push button at the top here. Push button. So that goes and gets the details of the push button template. Let's come back down to here to line 16. And just rub that out there. So the next thing it's expecting is a command. And the command I'm going to give it is choose underscore name. And we're not going to pass any arguments. We're just going to put text. And this is the text that will appear on the button. Tell me! Exclamation mark. Right. Now if I stop and run that, we're going to get an error message. So it's not the error message they're saying here, it's because I didn't do text equals in here. So I'll just do stop and run. Although it's displayed the box on the screen, the button hasn't appeared, and the error message down here is choose name is not defined. Choose name is a function we want to run when this button is pressed. So this is kind of like when the button's pressed, do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a little function called choose name. So up in our functions section, we define the function by the keyword def, and choose underscore name is the name of our function. Open and close bracket, colon, and then I'm just going to put some text in there. Button was pressed. So now when I run this now, we get a box with our button on, and I can press that, and then down here in the window, in the shell window, you can see that it's printing that the button was pressed. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try and make our button bigger and change the background size of our button and the font size. So that's a little challenge they've given to us based on the bandit picture project we did. So let's just see if we can do this then. Let's have a look in here. There's nothing on there I can see that I can use. So btn dot bg for background equals, let's see if this works, red. Yep, so that's the same process we did for the wanted poster. Having made the button red there, I think I should make it the text yellow. btn dot text size equals 30. Okay, so we've now got a nice big text on our button. And now the font color, and we had trouble with that last time, didn't we? btn dot text color, was it, equals yellow. Fingers crossed. There we go. And how about if we try and also change the font? So btn dot font equals, and let's just open up my word processor program. What do I fancy today? Well, Any of these will do, won't they? Doses extra bold. Doses extra bold. So doses, oops, extra bold. Right, let's stop that and run that. Yeah. So now we have a big, nice big red button on our screen. We've interacted with its properties by using the extension shown on the screen, and I'm pleased with that. So now we're going to add some names that we can put inside our function. So I'm just going to leave that print button was pressed in there. I'm going to type in first name. So first names we're making here is an object called a list, and we know it's a list because we've got the square brackets, and in there I'm just going to put in half a dozen names. They can be silly names: Gerald, Pythagoras, Ronald, oops. You can put any names you like in here. Smoky. Let's go for Pragya and Vinod. So this is a list of names that we're going to use for our. We're going to pick one of those randomly from our project, and now we're going to add some last names. Equals, and again another list. Dungeon. Very. You can put, obviously again put your own last names in. The sillier the better. The better. Burning Bush. Tomo. Sidewinder. And one last one. Yevtushenko. So we've got a list, two lists of names, first names and last names. Put your own in, make them silly, it's up to you. For us to be able to use a function called random, we need to import that as well into our project. So in our import section, we're going to type in from random import choice, and choice is all in lowercase and spelled properly, of course. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create our spy name. So spy underscore name equals choice, and that's calling the choice function. And we want it to pick something randomly from our first names and choice from our last names. Got to be spelled exactly the way you've written beforehand, and then we have to join those two together, and we join two different things together in computer coding. That's called concatenation, and the way we join them together, we use a plus sign, and then I'm going to put a pair of speech marks with a space in the middle, and then another plus sign afterwards. So what this little line of code here in line 12 will do is it will create a new variable called spy name. It will be assigned a random word from first names, a space, and then a random word from last names. And then we're going to add print spy name. Print spy name. Okay. So all we've done there now is we've created a function. We've added to our choose name function, so that when our button is pressed, the shell down here is going to give us a random name. So I press stop and run, press the button, and my first spy name it's produced is Ronald Yevtushenko. I've also got the button was pressed has appeared. I'm going to comment that out with the octothorpe or the hashtag or the £. Stop and run that again. Press the button, and then we got Smoky Tomo has appeared as our spy name. Okay, so that's working. What would be nice though is if it appeared on the screen, which I think is the next thing we're going to do. Yep. So we're going to create another widget, and this will go under our button, and we're going to call it name. I don't like to use names because that's a word that you kind of like use within a programming. So I'm going to put spy's name, and I've made that deliberately different to the spy name up there just so I didn't get confused. Equals text sitting within my app, and text equals. Okay, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to put some kisses in there. I'm going to run that just so you can see what happens. So I've got 4 kisses have appeared underneath my my button. Press my button, that still prints down there. What I want to do is I want to make whatever I end up printing here appear under my text box. So that's the goal. And I think I'd like to have size equal to 25, color equal to blue, and again you can experiment with those hexadecimal colors and the RGB colors. And I'm just going to leave the font as it is before. The other things on here are something we might do later on, but there's a way of controlling the layout within GUIZERO, but we won't do that now. So if I stop and run that now, my X's have turned big, and the color is blue. So close that down now. So within our function for choose name, we can simply add some code that says spy's name dot value equals spy name. So this text, this line of text at the moment, which is showing X's, this line of code will end up putting the name that's generated onto our text box, onto our GUI. Let's just run that. So I press the red button, and Pythagoras Ferry is my spy name. Okay, it looks a bit odd with and if I just keep pressing it, it just keeps giving you random combinations of the names I've got at the top there. Let's add another name in here. Let's put Colin in there, just for good measure. Stop and save. and eventually we'll pick a random name from there. It's also putting stuff onto our shell down here, so we can turn that off by commenting out that line there. And I can get rid of those initial kisses by just deleting those X's there and just leaving it with an empty initial value. So stop and run that again. Press the button, and this is my spy name. In the instructions, there's a breakdown of the code as it's been built up, but essentially that is you building a graphical way of producing a spy name. Well, that's all there is to this week's exercise. Feel free to experiment with different colors and different fonts and different names and see how silly you can make them. And don't forget, you can fiddle with the background color by doing my_app.bg and put the color in. And if you look at the code you wrote last time, you can see how you can change other attributes as well. Okay, see you in the next video, which is going to be making a mem. I think I said that properly. A mem, M-E-M-E. Okay, bye.